Hello.
Hello, Sophie. Good to see you again.
Yes.
And there's Sierra too.
Hi.
Hello. It's gonna try to close the window behind me. So.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna wait until everybody joins. Have you had other classes so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And via Zoom, how did it go? Is it going well?
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's weird, but it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. We are on
Yeah.
this side of the story. For me, it's really challenging to see how we can deal with this, but I think all teachers are trying and testing. So thank you for your patience as well. We will see how it goes today with our class. But yeah, I have planned something fun today too. So let's see how many people join. And it's Friday, so it's good, and it's our last block, so should be fine.
Yeah. Have you had any other classes?
I had a couple with first years already.
Okay.
It has been just an introductory thing. I didn't actually deliver a class. I was planning to do the same with you guys, but I think we should move on. So we're gonna try to have a content class today. And I'm actually uploading some videos during the week. So you will have some more content as the week unfolds. But first of all, I want to know how many people are joining today, how many are able with this time slot, because so we'll see. And then from there, we can just plan ahead. And also, if you have questions today, this also session will be to answer any questions related with anything that you may have in your mind about examinations or how are we going to grading, all of that. I have some answers. I don't have some others, but we can talk about that today.
Yeah.
Hi, Lola.
Hi, Lola.
Are you in Germany now?
Yes, I am. I'm in Berlin.
Okay. Is it quarantine? You have to be in quarantine, or it's okay?
I don't have to, but I am on time.
Sure.
But there's nothing for the commendation.
Hello.
Isaac.
Hi.
So your other name is Dennis, and now I'm realizing that.
Yeah, I'll change it. Hold on.
No, that's good. Good. So I'm going to ask whoever is joining if you can just mute your mics so we may have less interruptions. And then again, if you are talking, then you just unmute. We'll see how we can manage this. Maybe we can wait one more minute to see how many more people join. I know that time is not the best, but there's Asia also there connecting. So let's see. And Daniel, are you in Colombia right now, or are you this part of the hemisphere right now still?
No, I am here at home and in quarantine, of course, but enjoying life.
Okay, good. So how about, so as people are joining, how about starting going around? I'm gonna ask, hi Asia.
Hi.
So I'm gonna ask if we can, I see you on little, squares. So I'm gonna ask each of you as they appear in my screen, if you can just, in terms of testing your mic and how do we listen to each other. So if you can tell us, first of all, how are you doing? Where are you at right now in the world? And also it's important for me to know what time is it back home where you are. So we may have a sense of timings also wherever you are. So if that makes sense, if we can start with Sophie, if you can again say hi to us and where are you at right now, just to see if we can hear you.
Okay. So hello everyone. I'm in Quebec right now. It's 6 p.m. and I'm good.
Thank you. It's good to see you again, Sophie. And Sierra?
Hi, I'm also good. I'm in Calgary right now and it's 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Good. Zach, I see you there. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in the Yukon right now. Same time zone as Pearson, so that's lucky. But yeah.
Good. Half of Pearson students are where they're still, aren't they?
Mhm.
In your house. Right?
Yeah, Giovanni's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some students were not able to go up there because they closed flights. So yeah, it was quite.
Unfortunately, I didn't even know a territory could do that, but yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Lola, hi.
Hello, I'm in Berlin at the moment, and it's 11 p.m. and it's like in 1 week it will be 12 p.m. because of summertime at a different time. And yeah, I'm tired and confused and happy to see you all.
Good, thank you, Lola. So we'll see how these Zoom meetings unfold on the remaining weeks, because if it gets really tricky for you to be awake until this time of the night, in your case, then you don't have to join, because the idea would be to post the recording meeting anyways, so you don't have to. But again, if you want to, we are happy to see you here. And Asia, I see you next.
Yeah, hi. I'm all right in quarantine. I'm in London, England, so it's 10 p.m. for me right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Good, and then I see Daniel next. Hi, Daniel.
Hey everyone, I'm here in Bogota, and it's 5:05 right now.
Good. You said self-quarantine and you are fine. You are good health-wise. Everyone is
All good. All
Okay.
good. Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Hi, Andrew. I just saw you, I think, 2 days ago over here. Now I see you wherever you are. Hi.
Hi there. I'm back in Newfoundland, and I think it's 7:35 p.m.
Good.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here. And I'm happy you arrived back home well. And then I see Wura. Hi, Wura. Can you hear us, Wura?
Hi, Samuel.
Hello. So Wura, we cannot hear you.
Hi.
Now I can hear. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm wondering again, I know you are not back home, or are you back
I'm
home?
still in Victoria for
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay, so you have the same time as we do here. Nice to
Yes.
see you again. I didn't see you in the college, but they told me you were around. But then, we all are stranded in our houses here. It's so crazy. The college is so quiet. And yeah, we're trying to keep us also safe, but it's good to see you online also. And I see Pedro next. So hi, Pedro, if you can tell us where are you, and just to see if we can listen to you and if you are listening to us.
Hello. Yeah, I am in Lisbon, Portugal, and it is 10:06 p.m.
Good. It's 10, you said 10 p.m., is it?
Yeah.
All right. Good. How are things back home? Are okay there in your house?
Yeah, everything's okay. It's just like a ghost town everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hi, Vishaka. Good to see you.
Hi, Samuel. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm in self-quarantine. I'm in Maryland right now, in the US, and it's currently 6 p.m.
All right. So still not that bad for you. Again, today,
Not
Friday, is not, we don't want to be very late, but again,
Yeah.
6 p.m. is still good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you again, Vishaka. Anas, I see you next. I wonder where you are in the world right now.
Hi, Samuel. I'm in Saskatchewan. I'm staying at my cousin's place, and I think it's 4 p.m. over here.
All right. Well, good to see you again, Anas.
Good to see you, Samuel.
And Becca, I see you next. Hopefully it's not too early in the morning, is it? No? Just on mute.
Yeah, okay, wait. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I was in philosophy. It's 7, so it's fine. It's not bad. Are we just doing a little check-in? Oh, I'm in my room, self-quarantined to my room. It's fine. My parents are cooking everything for me, which never happens. So it's like a nice change of pace. Yeah, probably just like everyone else. So.
Good. Okay, good. We can hear you well, and I'm happy that you are well. I hope that philosophy was not too boring, because otherwise you will sleep in this class. I wonder if it's snowing over there.
For me, yeah, it snowed today and it snowed yesterday.
Okay. Well, okay. So yeah, too bad, guys. We have here.
It was so sunny. It was so sunny, and I was outside of my balcony in shorts and a t-shirt, and then the next day it snowed.
Sure. We have birds chirping here, and we have all the flowers. So you know, Victoria. Okay, I see Mara next. Hi, Mara. If you can tell us how are you, where are you, and what time is it right now?
Hello. I'm good. It's 5:09 p.m. for me right now, and I'm in Winnipeg, and there's lots of snow outside. I don't know if you can see like the snow. It's great. So no flowers here, but
yeah,
sunny at least. Yeah.
Good. You are okay. You are good. Winterpeg, they call it, eh?
Yes.
Good. Okay, and then I see Rosie. Hi, Rosie.
Hello. It's the same time as BC for me, so it's 3:09. I'm just in my room at home.
Okay, do you have other Pearson students with you, or they were not able to come?
No, the border closed, and it's outbreaking quite badly in Whitehorse now.
Okay. Okay, well, good to see you again, Rosie. I see, okay, where are we already? Melody, hi, Melody.
Oh, hello. I'm in Saskatchewan, and it's currently 4 p.m. and we have a bit of snow here also, so I wasn't expecting that, but that's fun.
Okay, so I hope you're doing well. Today, I see Vishaka. I think that's all of us right now, unless anyone I haven't asked. No. Okay, so today, the purpose of today's session will be to introduce you the webpage that I send you in a link, and maybe to see how are we going to be working from now until the next, I'm planning 6 weeks from now. However, we don't really know how the term is gonna end or when the term is gonna end, because I'm still waiting for instructions from Emily. As you know, the IB is changing the way that you are going to be assessed, and we don't have clear instructions of how are we going to be assessing you, but they are guaranteeing in some ways that you will have a diploma for your universities. And again, there's lots of uncertainty about how universities are going to be opening. We don't really know if they are going to open soon. So far we can move on with the classes. We need to cover some topics that we want to finish. But as long as we know more news, you will be advised, or you will know how are we going to be proceeding on each of the subjects, okay? So Andrew, can you mute your phone just so we can, yeah, so we don't have the interference. So let's see if we can, I'm trying to make a class today, so I'm gonna see how it works. Let's see if it works for you guys. What I did for today is I pre-recorded a class, which is related with exchange rates. I see most of you here in this session. We didn't talk about it. I know Melodies and Rosie and Vishaka, I think that was the class that we already covered this topic, but it would be good maybe for you to, maybe Vishaka was not on that. But just for you to review this topic. And again, we will move on from here to the next topic next Thursday. But let me start first with sharing with you some of the resources that we have here. Let's see if I can share the screen. Let's see if this is the one. So do you see a webpage that says Samuel Classes Online 2020? That's what you see. Hopefully you're seeing that. Can you just thumbs up? Anas, I see you there. So can you tell me if you see that? Yeah. Okay, Andrew, thank you.
Can see
Good.
Samuel doing classes online.
Okay, so this is the webpage that I created. I don't have a Google Classroom for some reasons. My email account of the college is not working to create any Google documents or classrooms, so I'm not able to do that right now. So I'm using this one to share with you resources. So if we go to the webpage, if you go and click here, Econ Second Years, then you will see that I have, first of all, posted the deadline for our last IA, okay? So I'm gonna push it for April the 2nd, which is next Thursday. So you are going to be submitting it via Turnitin. For those who already have submitted it, I have Sophie's here, I have Becca's here. Some of you have already sent it by email. That's okay, you don't have to upload it to turn it in. But then you will have to do it by April the 2nd for those who haven't. That will be the last deadline. I cannot receive later submissions because I need to start marking all your IAs. And I think that's going to be an important mark for you for your achieve or predicted grades. I'm not really sure how that is going to be working, but make sure that we have a good and a strong IA on this third one.
Samuel?
Yeah.
I was reading today at the IB questions and answers at the official website that now the IAs will be exclusively marked externally. Is this correct?
I don't have an answer for that yet because I haven't received any information from Emily. So we are not really interpreting yet what the IB has sent until we have a clear policy from the college. So once I have that, I will let you know, guys, okay, if that is going to be the case. Maybe if they are saying that they are not, that it's going to be only externally marked, then, well, that's fine. Then we will send all your IAs to them. I wonder how they are going to be receiving all those documents, but that will be the next step. So we're going one step at a time, and you will know for sure how that is going to work. In case they are asking for the 3 IAs, and I know some of you may have written your first IA, and let's say that you have drawn your graphs by hand, and let's say that the second and the third IA, you draw your graphs with a computer. Let's say that's the case. Because we want consistency, I may let you know that we need to put all together in the same way. So all the 3 IAs should be having the graphs doing by computer. So we need to figure out when is going to be that deadline. And if we have time to do that, then you will be able to change that IA so the 3 of them are consistent. So it will work on your benefit. But so far, because I don't have information, let's wait until the next week, and I'm going to try to find out as soon as possible how are we going to be working with IAs. Okay, good. Good. There's a link on the webpage here coming back to this. This is just a summary that of what we have seen. We don't need to go there right now. But if we go here to more, then there's an economics book. That is the book that we are using for the IB purposes. If you need it, then you can use it. Otherwise, use any resources online. You know, there's plenty of resources and videos online related with economics IB, but there's a book for you if you want to use the book. Then if we go to more, let's go down here. So what I put here on the webpage is the 3 chapters that we are going to be covering on the remaining weeks that we have. So I'm planning to use 6 weeks. 1 week and a half, or let's say today and the next session is going to be about exchange rates. And these 2 topics that, again, Becca always asks about higher level and standard level. So these 2 topics are going to be higher level topics that I will post the sessions next week for higher level students. That's the Marshall Lerner condition and the J curve. And then we're gonna finish with terms of trade, and that will be all for international trade chapter. Then we're gonna dedicate 2 weeks to talk about inequality and income redistribution. And the last weeks are going to be about development. I hope that we can cover everything in that time, because now we have larger amount of time in between one session and the other one. But if we're not able to cover all of that, we will make sure that you cover it, maybe giving you some resources to read afterwards. So let's play by ear, having a 6-week time frame from now. And let's see how we can, how this unfolds, okay? If we go to where it says more, and you click here, let's go to the international trade chapter. So this will have resources related with this topic. So today we're gonna watch this 20-minute video that I already made. The idea would be to maybe deliver it on real time, but I was just nervous of how it was going to work. So I'm just gonna share with you this video that I just made. And then we have the PowerPoints here about this topic. There are some tasks. We will talk about these tasks later, and there's a quiz. So today, I hope not to use the 2 hours that we are allocating, but let's say in 1 hour and a half, we will talk about all of these tasks that are here. What to expect for next week is going to be also related with this. And then the other 2 links are about the other 2 chapters. I'm not going to go there yet, but then you can play with this webpage to see what this is about, okay? So let's see what else is important as an introduction. Yeah, I will try to communicate with you via email if there's anything that is maybe going to come just before the next Friday. If there's something that you need to read or to see before next session, I will send you an email related with that. Otherwise, whatever we said today is what is expected to be done for the next week. If you don't have something to write, I may ask you please to bring something like a notebook and a pen, because I want you to take notes. And after the session ends of this video that is gonna take 20 minutes, I'm gonna ask you some questions, and you will need to make some graphs as we are talking. So it's gonna be useful for you to have something to write. And what I will do right now is just to play the video. It's gonna take 20 minutes, and then we can ask questions about the video. And I also would like to have some feedback about how do you feel about that video, to see if we can keep working on this way in the future sessions. Sounds good?
I had a question, Samuel. For HL and SL students, like how will SL students know? Like, have you thought about that? How you're gonna make it for HL sometimes and SL?
Sure.
Or... Excellent.
Thank you for the question. So next session, please, all of you will need to join, and I will tell you, because we are gonna use part of that session to deliver the higher level topics. So what I would like to do is next session, we're gonna have some feedback of the homework that I'm gonna send you today, assign you today. So you log in next Friday just to answer questions about the homework. So once we have covered that, if we are delivering a higher level session, I tell you, then you're free to go, and then we stay with the higher level students. If not, then we do the same next week. So I think it's just one session that we have the higher level topics, and otherwise we will go. Okay. And the last thing will be, you don't have to join to these sessions again, unless you really want to have some conversation about the homework that I will be leading. So the idea will be the first 30 minutes of the session will be to ask questions and to go through the homework. And the remaining time will be to have the new topic delivered. That is the one that I'm gonna be recording. So you can do it by your own time anyways. Okay, good. Unless there's another question in general about the web page or. No? And if you have questions later, we may have some time. What was the last thing I wanted to share before going there? No, I think we can go right now before doing something else. So let me share with you the video, and then let's see how it works, okay? Let's see, share screen. Let's go here. Oh, I see. Okay, it's loaded on YouTube, so you can actually go to YouTube anyways, but I'll send you the link. So this is what I recorded. Let's watch it, and let's see after 20 minutes how it goes.
I don't know for others, but I don't hear anything.
Me either.
You don't hear?
No, me neither. But
Okay.
the other day in marine science, I think we figured out that you can't actually listen to videos through.
Oh. Okay. So this is interesting, because then, let me see. If you figure out that, then mute my audio, share, yeah. Okay, so what we can do is that we can do two things. We can do, if you can just go right now to the link I'm gonna post right now here on your chat. Let me see. And then you watch the video, and after 20, let's say 22 minutes, we can stop and come back to see how it goes. Let's play with that if you are okay with that. Just gonna send you the link with the chat. So if you can tell me that you could open that video and watch it, I'm gonna just play it even if there's without any sound here, just to have the timing. And then after you are done, please come back here to the screen and we'll see if there are questions related with the video. Sounds good?
Should we leave the meeting and then just come back in the meeting at like?
Well, yeah, I think you can actually turn off your camera and mute it, and then just come back whenever you are ready. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, but for me, that's the time I need for the video.
Do you say you would like more time or less time? I didn't get it.
Just, I'm finished.
Oh, okay, yeah, good. Yeah, I think by now everybody will start to pop up because I just finished too, so hopefully they didn't get bored. So, yeah, they're coming back. Okay, I'm just so you know, I'm recording this session as well. Now I realize that there's 20 minutes of nothing happening because we were watching the video. So I will see if I can edit it, but this is the one that I'm gonna submit it. Again, I will try to put all these sessions on the webpage. For those who were not able to connect today, they should be able to follow these sessions as well. And the same with you guys. So this is kind of a sample session of what we may want to do every Friday. Now, I want to open it to any comments that you have about the video itself, maybe our questions about content. We may use some time for that, and then we can move on what to expect for next week. Sounds good? So just pop in if whoever wants to just reflect on what did you, yeah, anything about the video or anything about the content.
This is more related, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Lola.
Okay, I'll go. I had a question. You said that when US citizens living in Canada are going back to the US, they are exchanging their Canadian dollars for US dollars, therefore the supply of Canadian dollars increase. Will the demand for, wait, no. will the demand for Canadian dollars also decrease, or?
No, good question. So because we are looking at what shifts actually the curve is whoever is holding or whoever is demanding more, and that is a shock that we are analyzing. So for example, people are demanding more, then that will shift out the demand. People are supplying more, then the supply is shifting out. And the same thing if it's demanding less or supplying less. So if nothing is happening, let's say if there's no additional shock making people to demand more or less, then what we have is a normal, is our equilibrium. So the equilibrium remains, even if there are small fluctuations, it remains. The shock is the one that is making the shifts to happen. So there's only going to be just one shift. So in this case, the supply of Canadian dollars is shifting out because people who are here and they are going back to the USA, they are selling additional Canadian dollars into the market. It's not the normal sell of Canadian dollars. There's a shock that is making more selling of Canadian dollars. Now, what is going to be demanded more? US dollars. So if you go to the other side of the story, the other side of this coin, then the US dollar market, the demand of the US dollar is shifting out. So then you have shift out of one side and shift out of the other side from the demand side. But nothing happens with the demand curve of the Canadian dollar when people are traveling away from Canada, because it doesn't mean that people are demanding less. Actually, the demand stays the same.
I had a question about, I don't know if it was, I forget if it was in the video, if it was just like right when I tuned back in that you had said right now, like kind of the markets and the currencies are crashing because people are purchasing less. But I don't know, at least from like, okay, what it's like back home is that people are purchasing less from small businesses, and businesses, like I would assume, don't have that much of an impact on the market, but are purchasing more from like big, or like there are shortages and like all the stores, like, I don't know, here we have like Sobeys and Superstore, which are like our grocery stores, and Walmart, like all of those big companies that in my perception are like controlling the market, are all like, they're running out of things. So why are all the currencies crashing when like big businesses are receiving more? Business, I guess, and like small businesses probably aren't, but like, do they really have that much of a?
Okay, great, Becca, thank you. So if we think about what's going on in the world right now, we have different ways of looking the shock, because one shock will be on the trade of goods and services. So what do you think is happening right now in the global trade? If you're thinking about people are not buying stuff from the rest of the world, that's what we're looking at. People are actually stopping trade because you're not really buying more stocks of let's say milk, let's say powder milk from China, because people here in Canada are not buying too much. People are staying in their homes. So all the trade is actually diminishing. So the trade is actually lower all over the world. But also we have the other side of the story in the balance of payments. Let's think about the financial flow. So I'm going to try to answer your question in 1 second, Becca, but let's see what's happening on the other side. So let's say people right now are looking at let's say the stock market in the USA is starting to crash. People are actually, the values of the stocks are going down, 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 down. People are just selling their stocks. They want to get rid of those papers because they think that the recession is coming soon, and actually it's starting to come. So they want to have maybe assets, maybe they want just to buy a home, or they just want to buy gold instead of having those papers that now are losing money. Think about the stocks of Facebook, for example, they are falling down. So if they are selling those stocks, and let's say if you're a Canadian that you already hold stocks in the USA, and now you're selling the stocks, and you want to buy instead some land here in Saskatchewan, let's say, then just you want to sell your US dollars because you're going to be selling the stocks in US dollars, and then you want to exchange those dollars into Canadian currency. So looking at that is when you analyze, okay, let's analyze one shock at a time. Let's forget about what's happening with Walmart and all these other businesses, and what is affecting the exchange rate now mostly is all this flow of financial flows that people are actually retiring from banks and retiring from the stock market, that is affecting more the value of the dollar than other things. But also we are looking at a lower level of imports. We are importing less from other parts of the world. and also we're exporting less to other parts of the world because the whole contraction of the economy is facing in the two sides of the story. So if we look at all of that, maybe we need to make maybe one step at a time of how that is affecting the value of the Canadian dollar in this case. The small businesses, as you're saying, Becca, they may not be making a big change on the exchange rate that you're saying, because maybe they are just buying local wheat and local milk in order to produce local bread. So they are not really making a big change on the exchange rate. But again, if Walmart is buying Chinese goods and now they are stopping of buying Chinese goods, that means that this, in this case, the supply of Canadian dollars in the foreign market will shift inwards because they are supplying less. They are buying less foreign currency to buy less goods from abroad. That may affect the Canadian dollar and may increase the value of the Canadian dollar if we're talking about China, for example. Let's think about the USA. If people are buying less goods from the USA, means that there's less supply of Canadian dollars in order to buy less US dollars. So that may also increase the value of the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar. I'm just trying to build here, how are we analyzing one thing at a time? Because maybe on the other hand, people buying now more Canadian dollars because they are repatriating their dollars from the USA. They want to buy things here in Canada instead of investing in the US market. That will also shift out the demand of Canadian dollars. So maybe we have two sides, the supply shifting inwards, the demand shifting outwards, and the value of the Canadian dollars may increase. That could be a shock. We don't really know. I was just checking the webpage and I saw your hand, Lola, so let me just finish with this idea here. If I share you the screen of what's happening right now with the value of the Canadian dollar just one day ago, if you see from, this is I think from one day from now, so the value of the Canadian dollar just increases from 70 cents to 71 US dollars. But these fluctuations actually, we see how the Canadian dollar has appreciated. This is 5 days from now. Can you see the screen? Do you see the screen of the, but from the, let's say we go 3 months ago, actually we see this is what is plummeted. So the value of the Canadian dollar fall down with the US dollar for some reasons. Maybe people are demanding less Canadian goods. That was when the, when the pandemic was actually March 21st. So people were demanding less Canadian goods. Maybe the demand of Canadian dollar went down, and that is why the value of the Canadian dollar depreciated towards the US dollar. Maybe that was the reason. Maybe people were canceling their vacations to Canada. So again, the demand shifted inwards. They are not demanding as many Canadian dollars now as they were before. That is making the demand or the value of the Canadian dollar to depreciate. So again, we cannot tell that it's just one shock, because again, we have the trade shock, but also the financial flow shock. Hopefully this clarifies a little bit your question, Becca. I don't know.
It does. I had another question that I was, I've actually been wondering this for a really long time. With all the shortages in the grocery stores, why aren't the stores increasing their prices? Because aren't they're also like laying off a bunch of people? So wouldn't that be like a shortage of labor? And then they would have to, I guess they would make up their money from that. But like, why, like, okay, I just kind of contradicted myself, but why are they like not, why is there no inflation with all the shortages?
Yeah, that's an interesting question about what's happening right now. Let's forget about exchange rates for 1 second to answer your question. So let's say now people are stopping, they are not really selling that many goods or services. Now you are saying, why aren't they increasing their prices? That was your question, or?
I know for like grocery stores, because at least like the grocery stores here, there's no food in any of the grocery stores. Like you go in and there's nothing. There's a really high demand for that, like specifically for food. And toilet paper, I guess.
Sure.
So why are those prices not increasing?
Okay, we have two ways of looking at that. First of all, maybe they just want to speculate. They just want to cut the supply. So that's why they are saying we're not going to supply anymore. And then we're waiting until people really are willing to pay. And then they release all the stocks, but at a very high price. That will happen only if we have just few firms able to do that. Remember, in a perfect competitive market, everyone wants to sell, but we know that most of the firms are very few firms who are supplying, let's say in this case, toilet paper. That could be one way of analyzing that, but another way could be the ability for them to produce in the short term. Remember the elasticity of the supply? It could be very inelastic or it could be more elastic. So what we're looking is that if people are demanding more toilet paper and the rate of the demand is changing so fast, and they are not able to supply as much, maybe this is what's happening. The supply is almost inelastic because of the short term. So people are demanding a lot, and now it's being depleted. Or we may expect now people are demanding a lot, the prices of toilet paper should go up. That's what we will expect to happen. If that is not happening, then that's something that we cannot analyze from the theory. Maybe something else is happening that I wouldn't be able to answer right now. We can explore that later. Lola, you had a question.
Yes. Also, this is more for the homework you gave us before. What means CAN?
Good. So let me go to the homework because you received something like this. Is a PowerPoint that I sent you. Again, I know Zach did it already in the class, and Rosie was there as well. I think that class, I think was also Pedro and some people also in that class. So what the CAN means is Canadian. We are doing this homework in terms of Canadian dollars. I think I'm gonna share the screen better. It's better for us to see what's going on here. So this is going to be your homework, which is playing with the model, okay? So it tells, for example, how the shock, let's think about a shock. Here's the shock on this column, and here's how it will be affecting the demand or supply of Canadian dollars. We're using Canadian dollars for simplicity. You can put here your currency if you want. But let's say we are based on Canada and we're looking at the exchange rate of Canada. Let's look at this shock. There's an increase, this arrow will say the shock is an increase in foreign interest rates. So let's think about how people may be reacting if the interest rates, let's say in Brazil, is increasing. So that means that if you move your money from your bank in Canada and you put the money in the Brazilian bank, let's say, then you will receive more interest rates back. So foreign interest rates are making people to what? To sell more of the Canadian dollars in the foreign exchange market because they want to invest abroad. Does that make sense? So the supply of the Canadian dollar is shifting out because people are supplying Canadian dollars in order to buy what? Foreign currency. In this case, the currency of the foreign banks that are increasing interest rates for them to invest in that bank or to put their money in that savings account. Yes, Lola.
Couldn't also when the foreign interest rates are high, then the businesses in these foreign countries can't start as easily, and so the foreign supply would shift in because they can't like start their businesses, and they can't have such a good start into the business world. And so if the foreign supply shifts in, then also the imports would shift in.
Okay, let's rephrase what you were just saying, because that's important. Because this is why we need to use our paper and play with the model, because that will help us to understand what's happening. So if the interest rate, let's say that in Germany, let's assume that in Germany the interest rates went up. Okay, for some reason the interest rate is higher than they used to be. So for the rest of us who are connected right now here, we may say, okay, it's better to invest in the German bank or to put our money in a German savings account because the interest rate is higher than it was before, okay? That should make sense for us abroad investing in Germany. So what is going to happen is that we are going to, if we all are in Canada, we all are going to be selling Canadian dollars and buying euros. Does that make sense? Because we want the euros to be on the German bank because of the higher earnings of interest rates. So that is going to be shifting out the supply of Canadian dollars because all of us are going to be selling Canadian dollars and shifting out the demand of euros. So it's a side story, okay? That will depreciate the Canadian dollar and appreciate the euro towards the Canadian dollar, ceteris paribus. We're just looking at these two shocks at the same time. Now, you are saying because the interest rates inside Germany are increasing, people are not really investing in new firms. They don't want to make any loans, okay? That's a local decision that is not affecting right now the exchange rate, because let's say if you are a small business in Germany, maybe you wanted to start a business right now. You wanted to make a loan in the bank to start selling Wiener Schnitzels in the streets. Now it's expensive to make a loan. So you will say, well, what I do with my euros? And you're saying, well, I should actually do something with my euros instead of starting my business. So you could do many things, but we cannot say for sure that there's an incentive for you to put your money abroad from Germany, because the shock is not really telling you that you should put your money abroad from Germany. So we don't really know. We cannot say for sure. You may be investing in the US market, you may be buying stocks in Guatemala. That's something that we don't really know, and we cannot actually use that as an assumption. But we can say for sure that people will be attracted to invest in Germany if the German interest rates are increasing, because that will make people more prone to invest in your country, and that will affect then the value of the euro and the value of the Canadian dollar. Ceteris paribus, one shock at a time. Very simple. We don't want to contaminate the analysis with other shocks, because that breaks the assumption of ceteris paribus, one shock at a time. Okay, so what I would like you to do is to match, as we see here. Again, the first one is increasing foreign interest rates. That will shift out in this case, the supply curve of the Canadian dollar, and therefore the exchange rate of the Canadian dollar will depreciate. Same thing with the other one. Increasing Canadian exports. So if we are selling more goods to the rest of the world, what's going to happen? Are people buying or selling Canadian dollars now more?
People are demanding more?
Demanding more. So again, we see the demand of the Canadian dollar shifts out. Therefore, the exchange rate will appreciate, ceteris paribus. So this is this line that we see here. So that's what we are asking you to do. I will ask you to do it, take your time, maybe today after the class, just try to match it, play with the model. That's my goal for you, to work with the model. Again, the idea will be, if you have questions about this, you can go back to the video, or you can take any other videos, because I don't want to, for all of us to be spending all the time here with redundant questions. But again, if there are particular questions that you have, this is the time to ask.
Samuel?
Yeah.
I had a question earlier, but I didn't know how to do the raising hand thing. It was pretty much about, so earlier you said that since like a lot of people are returning back to Canada, just like theoretically, the demand for the Canadian dollar would go up when comparing it to the US dollar. But then you also said that the demand for US dollar would also go up. So then would this be a case in which the equilibrium point wouldn't really shift, because supply is shifting out and demand is also shifting out? So it would just be like the same exchange rate. Like, would anything really happen to the exchange rate?
Okay, thanks for the question. And remember that we have, in the foreign exchange market, we have two graphs: the graph of one currency and the graph of the other currency. Okay, so let's look again at the US-Canada situation. If we have Canada here and the US here, if the demand of Canadian dollars is shifting out in Canada, that means that people are selling what? They are selling US dollars on the other side. So they are selling dollars in order to buy Canadian dollars. So we have actually the two shifts. We call it the mirror effect, because in one market, what is happening on one side is making on the other market, on the other side, happening. So depreciation in the US dollar is an appreciation of the Canadian dollar, because you are supplying US dollars in order to buy Canadian dollars. Okay, yeah. So the supply is not happening also in Canadian dollars. That's a different shock. But because we're looking just at people selling US dollars and buying Canadian dollars, that's the shock, the first shock, ceteris paribus.
Okay, so the exchange rate would like differ.
In the US dollar will depreciate, and in the Canadian dollar will appreciate towards the US dollar in the same amount. Actually, let's say the 5 cents that is increasing in the Canadian dollar is 5 cents less in the US dollar, let's say, equivalent.
But isn't the same thing happening to the US? Like when Canadians, I don't know, like when Americans are going back to the US from Canada, they're trying to like give away their Canadian dollar to get USD. So it's the same thing. So I don't.
That is correct. And you are right, because it's not only one thing happening. Again, the people who are coming to Canada are shifting out the demand. But let's say now you, for example, you are going to the USA. So you are demanding US dollars, if this was the USA, and you're supplying Canadian dollars. So actually, the equilibrium could actually be the same if this is the same amount of currency traded. Do you see what I mean? So if the shocks are the same, then the Canadian dollar and the US dollar may stay the same. But again, this changes every second, every minute. And if you go to any web page that tells you that shows you the fluctuations. I'm gonna show you because it's very nice to see the chart. Then you see here again, this is the Canadian dollar towards the US dollar. And we see how it went down and then it went just a little bit up. And if we go to the other page that I have here, I can see it here. We see the opposite happening in the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar. Whatever was going down, now is going up here. Then we see how it went down here on the last day, which is we see here going up on the last day on the Canadian dollar. So it went up, the value of the Canadian dollar increased, but also the value of the US dollar decreased. For some reason, we can build a story behind that. Maybe people were selling more US dollars at that point and buying more Canadian dollars at that point yesterday. And that is what made the Canadian dollar to gain value and the US dollar to lose value.
Yeah, also, just like in the case of the USD, at least, because it's used to compare against every other currency, it could also be like, I don't know, like the Chinese, like yuan, like had something happen to it, and that's what happened to the USD. Because you can compare Canadian dollars to USD directly, but you can't necessarily tie USD to any other currency because it's with everything, right?
Yes, that's correct. We analyze exchange rates just towards another currency, and then that's why we analyze only the exchange rate with another currency. If we generalize the exchange rate of a country towards the rest of the world, that's kind of a very big average. So actually it doesn't tell us anything. We might say the exchange rate of the US dollar towards what? Towards a general currency, it doesn't exist. So that's why we analyze just one currency at a time.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. And the thing is that all these fluctuations of currencies happen because of the relationship of one country with another country. Let's assume that Canada is not trading with Portugal. Let's put Pedro here on the spotlight. Let's say we don't really want to buy the beautiful wine from Portugal and the cheese that they produce. So we don't have any trade with Portugal. So actually we don't really need to buy are you using euros, aren't you, Pedro? I hope you're there.
Okay. Yeah, we have euros here. Yeah.
Sure. So in Europe, we have euros as a general currency. So we can talk about the euro fluctuating because other countries trading with the rest of the world. But if Portugal had just one currency, then we wouldn't see any fluctuations between Canada and the currency of in this case, of Portugal, because there was no trade. There was no relationship between these two countries. Now, if Portugal was trading, let's say, with Colombia, then you will have an exchange rate between the Colombian peso and the Portugal currency if that was the case. By the way, Daniel, sorry, I was changing the name of your currency.
It's fine. It's fine. You have the right to do it.
Any other questions? Good. So as you can tell, this is kind of a basic supply and demand analysis. What we need to make sure is that we practice a little bit. That's why this worksheet may be useful, because we want to understand when something happens in the trade balance will affect the exchange rate, ceteris paribus. When something happens also in the financial flow or the financial capital account and financial account will also affect the exchange rate. And because we're just making one shock at a time, we don't need to worry about too many shocks. But let's say, I'm gonna just test you guys. Let's say that USA is sending lots of money to, let's say, maybe Nigeria. Okay, let's say that they are sending in terms of aid, ceteris paribus. What do you think is gonna happen with the currency of Nigeria if now they are receiving lots of US dollars? So the US dollar is going to be demanding more in Nigerian. Sorry, can you remember your currency, Wura?
Naira.
Okay, the Nigerian currency.
Naira.
Thank you, Wura. So the Naira. So if the US dollar is sending aid in terms of US dollars to Nigeria, they have to buy the Naira, because people will receive the dollars, but they will exchange it to the Naira in order to buy whatever or to deliver to the people or to do whatever they want to do with that money. So how is that going to be affecting the Naira? The demand is shifting out, isn't it? The US dollar is being selling more US dollars in order to buy the Naira because they are sending that money abroad and buying that currency so they can use the currency inside the country for whatever purposes they want to use it. So in this case, it's the opposite. It's actually appreciating the Naira. So a country receiving aid may be affected negatively because their currency will be appreciated. Now that is negatively because later we will see how a higher value of the currency will affect the economy, because then people are going to be feeling that it's more expensive to buy the Naira. If I want to travel to Nigeria, then I have to exchange my dollars to Naira, and then that will make me to receive less for each dollar. So that will mean I feel it's more expensive to go to that country later. So any flow that is happening in terms of trade or aid or remittances or investing in a country, remember that means that people are demanding more of that foreign currency or demanding less of that foreign currency. And that is affecting the exchange market. So that's why I want you to work in this. And next class, we will just go to the answers and see if we have further questions. And I saw your hand, Lola, but I just want to finish before our time finishes, just to give you the hint of the homework before more time goes by. Because what is expected for the next week is that I have the video that we just saw on the webpage, and then we have the PowerPoints, and there's a couple of tasks here. So let's go to the one that it says task, balance of payments, and exchange rates. So if you see, there's a lot of exercises that you can go through. Actually, this is again building the balance of payments of a country. So you will see how the balance of payments is built. It's just a review of what we have seen so far. So my request is that you go through all of these. So again, hopefully you have time to go through all of these. This is gonna be like your self-learning. And if you have questions about any of these questions, next Friday, we will go through the answers and go and clarify any questions that you may have. So that's the first thing that I would like you to do. It's a lot, but then again, maybe you are bored in your quarantine. Hopefully you can use this instead of just looking at other things. And there's another quiz here, but this quiz is very straightforward. It's just talking about exchange rates. So it has some questions and it has the answers already, okay? So it's just mathematically how to calculate the exchange rate. Is more of, in order to understand the concept. Again, this is not something that you will be assessed. We don't even know if you're going to be having any final examination anyways, but because we want to learn. So you can go and make the quiz in your spare time. You can do this task in your spare time. And next Friday, we will solve any questions that you have related with this. There's an IB question also. A data response is a standard level. High level can do it as well. Question number 1 is related with exchange rates. This is not loading yet, but you will see that you can check the question. So you have here lots of resources to practice what we have been talking about today. And again, if you have further questions, you can check the book, you can go online, or you can send me an email if I am not able to answer them today. Let's see, if there are any comments or questions. Alian, I see you. Hi, welcome.
Yeah, sorry, my time zone's really messing me up and I just woke up.
No worries. What time is it right now back home?
Oh, it's 4 a.m.
Okay, you don't have to do this, okay? Don't punish yourself.
Don't worry, I just like...
Sure, it's good to see you anyways, but yeah, we're gonna record all these sessions anyways if they are useful.
Perfect.
Okay, Anas, you had a question.
I read an article the other day. It was talking about how Amazon and Walmart they want to employ 100,000 new employees despite the coronavirus thing happening right now. I don't understand why that they're demanding to. I mean, why they want to employ more people, and people are being asked to stay home. And I don't understand how this works economically. Can you please explain why?
Sure. Thank you. Well, Guys, this is a very fascinating time to talk about economics. And I saw two hands raised, but I just want to answer Anna's question. Again, this does not necessarily have to do with exchange rates, but there are super valid questions, and maybe this is useful for us to just talk about to understand what's going on in the world. We are actually looking at something that hasn't happened before. One thing is people not buying stuff because they are staying at home. It has never happened in the last 100 years. We haven't seen this happening as it is happening now. People stranded in their homes and not buying things overall in the whole world. This is not there's no exception. So what we may think is, if we think about an aggregate demand of the whole world, is shifting inwards. That's what we're looking at right now. So there's a big recession that is coming on in the next couple of weeks or 1 month because of less demand of goods and services. But on the other hand, firms are not working because people are not going to work. Actually, that's what has been happening in China since the lunar lunar year, New Year, I mean. So because they haven't been producing, there's also a supply side shock. There's less supply of goods, but also there's less demand of goods. So we have a big contraction of the long run aggregate supply, if we put it in those terms, of the world. So actually the world is producing less of what it has been producing before. So coming back to your question, Anas, the problem is that politicians are really worried that this is going to be affecting the economies of each country in a very, very bad way, which is totally expected. How many people are now laid off here just around the campus? We have seen the people from the cafeteria, they are gonna be laid off next month. Bernice was teaching in the school here of Diego, she has been laid off. So we are looking at just people that we know that are losing their jobs. So what governments want to do, and we may want to be aware of that, because in some countries, like let's call it less developed countries, what governments are saying is, don't panic, you should go back to work maybe in the next week or so. I'm really worried because that is not really going to be safe for many people to go back home, to go back to work, because they may be infected. So if you see how long it took to China for not having more cases, or at least in Wuhan, it took almost 3 months, If that is what we're expecting to happen on this side of the world, we may expect the USA to be paralyzed for 1 more month. That is really devastating for the US economy. So if you're listening to Trump, he's actually preparing psychologically people to say, people want to go back to work and we should make this country great again because people want to work, and that is what's making the US economy always strong. But actually, that's a political rhetoric that is not really taking as a priority the health of the people. Now, what's going to happen? Some firms are willing to hire people and tell them, come on, work, you need jobs, but at the risk of being infected. So what we need to be, maybe as civil society, we need to make sure that all these companies are taking care of the workers that they hire, because they don't want to lose money, of course, but lives are first, and that's what we need to make sure that governments are protected. Here in Canada, people who are laid off, they will receive a check from the government, typical Keynesian policy, because if you receive a check in your pocket, then you will be able to keep consuming. The problem is, how much are we consuming? We're just consuming basic needs. I'm doing here in my house. We're just buying stuff from groceries, and that's it. No more entertainment, nothing. So that is actually harming many restaurants and entertainment and travel, etc., etc. So I hope that answers your question, because the natural thing to do right now is not to go back to work, but firms, they want to hire people because otherwise they will actually go to bankruptcy if they are not producing and therefore selling. And who was next? I have raised hands. I have Alian.
Sorry, because I joined late, I have a smaller question. So when the first years were leaving, that was decided the IAs were due on the 31st of March. I want to know, is it still the 31st right now?
No, I move it to just 2 more days. Actually, it's the 2nd of April, next Thursday. So you will have enough time, hopefully by now, to work on your third IA. Do it on the weekend if you want. Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me via email. But the idea will be to submit your final IA on the 2nd of April via Turnitin. I will send you the link in the next couple of days, so you will submit it via Turnitin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so again, this could be a nice space to talk about what's going on in the world. You may see how many by the book policies we have seen are going to be taken in some economies. Canada is typical of using Keynesian policies. We call Canada a welfare state. Actually, what Trudeau is saying that the government is not going to allow people to not to consume, but also they want to protect people and keep them in their houses. So we may think about people receiving checks in their mails. You will see maybe that happening in your households in the next couple of weeks, just from the government. And the government may also hire people in order to produce maybe more medicines if they are needed. I expect that to happen eventually. And interest rates are going to fall down to the minimum possible. So those are monetary policies and fiscal policies that the government is going to be taking into place. We expect that to happen. But because people are scared of going to work, we don't know how the production is going to be reacting. We don't know if there's going to be enough food or enough goods and services produced in the future if people are staying at home for the next month because of the fear of getting infected. Now, some people, if they don't go to work, they will starve because they don't have money. And that happens in other countries. That we don't expect that to happen in Canada because of the welfare state paying that, even if that means big debt to pay in the future. But Canada can do that because they can repay the debt in the next 10, 15, or 20 years. A small country like Guatemala, let's say, if we get into huge debt, we may be in big problem in the future. But again, this is the big debate we're having down there. Should we actually support people and stay at home and just send them food for now? Or should they go back to work to produce, tennis shoes that now we use here, or to produce t-shirts that we buy here so they can have a job there? But that would may put them on risk of being infected in the, these factories that are really, really not having the best practices in terms of health. That's something to think about, not related with the topic that we're discussing right now, but that's something to think about in the context of economics. Hi, Tarek.
Hi, Simon. I was just wondering, because we're using supply and demand to explain exchange rates, is there some kind of price floors and price ceilings, and how does it look like in real life?
Thank you. Yes, that's true. Actually, what we just looked in the video was a very basic supply and demand fluctuating. And if you go to the graphs that I show you, and let me show you because that's maybe important for us to answer. If we look at those graphs of the, let's see. So here, let's go 5 years from now with the Canadian dollar and the US dollar. Look at all these fluctuations that we see here, okay? So if we see there's a peak here, there's a lower boundary here, and the Canadian dollar has been fluctuating maybe along some boundaries here, let's say the lower boundary and the upper boundary. So if we see these as boundaries, we may think that the exchange rate of the Canadian dollar and the US dollar is allowed to fluctuate, but just between those boundaries, okay? That's our next topic, which we are going to be discussing in the next video, which is going to be what we call dirty floating exchange rates. If there was no peak and no restrictions, then this may have gone very way up and very way down. We don't really know, but a free floating exchange rate does not have any boundaries. But all countries in the world, they want to protect the boundaries of the exchange rate because they don't want the exchange rate to go beyond a certain value or below a certain value. And that's what we call a dirty floating or a managed exchange rate system, which is what actually happens in real life in the world. So because we're just with the basic model so far, we're just looking at the fluctuations, but then we will see that those fluctuations have some boundaries set by the government. How the government ensures that is going to be on the next video explained anyways. And there's one case in the world that the exchange rate is fluctuating, but very, very narrow. Let's think about maybe less than 1 cent up and less than 1 cent down. Even if that is very small, they claim that that's a dirty floating exchange rate mechanism versus, you know, Canada having all these boundaries between US 101 and maybe 70 cents. And that country is China. China is making their currency to be very, very cheap to buy. Even if they are allowing it to go up and down, they are not allowing it to go up very high and to go down very high. And this is almost what we call a fixed exchange rate mechanism. So they do that because the WTO does not allow a country to have a fixed exchange rate. So they are saying, well, we let our currency to float, but our currency is just floating in a very tiny boundary, you know, maybe less than 1 cent up and less than 1 cent down, but they are maintaining artificially low the value of the Chinese yuan. So when we buy yuans, we pay less for them, or we receive more yuans for each dollar, let's say, so we can buy more Chinese goods. So that is making the Chinese good artificially cheaper because the value of the currency is cheaper. We can talk about that later, but you will see that on the video that I'm posting next. And that is what is called a fixed exchange rate system. Well, it technically is not fixed. It's a dirty floating, but it's floating so narrow that it's almost fixed. If there was no allowance of fluctuating, that would be considered a fixed exchange rate system because the government is not allowing it even to change. According to the WTO, you shouldn't be able to do that because then you are breaking the rules of the WTO in terms of exchange rates. Hopefully that explains a little bit, Tarek.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. So guys, I hope that this is because we're coming 1 hour and a half from the beginning. I don't want to bore you as well, but if you are okay, I don't know how did you find the video. Again, it was my first video, so hopefully I get better in recording them. But I will try to record more videos and upload them on that webpage. I will just identify them by topic, so you can come there and go back and forth. But also you can just Google videos related with exchange rates and find the best way for you to learn about this. And our sessions like this will be more about questions and answers if you are okay with that. So we don't spend the time of watching the video, but you watch the video beforehand. Yes, Lola? Oh.
This is just agreement.
Okay, good. So let me summarize for today what are we expecting for next Friday, okay? First, if you are not clear with the topic, watch again the video that is already on YouTube. The link is on the webpage. Secondly, if you can do the worksheets that are there, take your time to work on them. You don't have to do all of it. You don't need to submit that to me. I'm not marking those. It's for you to practice the concepts. And third, work on the quiz that is also there because it has the answers already, so you can just check your own answers of what they are asking. And if you still have time, which I don't think you will, but there's an IB paper as well, so you can choose to do either or. So there's a data response question related with exchange rates, is the first question related with Australia, and then you can practice what we have been seeing so far. All of that is part of your learning. I'm more interested that you learn more than having any IB grade, because at the end of the day, who knows how are we going to be grading you, to be honest. If it's going to be the IAs, then you are done because you will submit that and then you're done. But I want you to be engaged into this topic because this is something that maybe you want to keep learning, even if you're already going to be graded for your IB diploma. Okay, so I will keep having our classes. I expect to see you guys also to check on you, and it's nice to see your faces again. But that will be for me to share with you today, unless there are questions.
I have another question. So how does the Forex get its data? Like, how do they know how much demand there is or how much supply there is?
Good, great question. I'm gonna answer you with another question. Let's say that you right now, let's say that you have Canadian dollars in your pocket. Are you back home, just by the way? Where are you right now, Tarek?
Yes, like in Tunisia.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in a government quarantine facility.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully you will get out after whatever time happens. Let's say that you have in your pocket 100 Canadian dollars, okay? You took them with you when you left Canada. So now the question is, now you want to get rid of that paper, of that money, and you want to exchange it to money that you can use back home. So where are you going to be selling that money? Then you become actually the Forex in this case, because you are going to be trying to offer your Canadian dollars to whoever is willing to buy you those Canadian dollars, okay? So how are you going to be determining the value of the Canadian dollar that you want to sell? Then you go online and then you can check right now, Canadian dollar towards the, I don't know the currency, the name of your currency, sorry.
Dinar.
The dinar. So you want to know a reference value of the dinar. So there's no fixed reference value. You can go to the central bank. The central bank actually determines the average in which people are trading the dinar right now. Who trades the dinar mostly? Banks, private banks, because they are the ones who exchange money usually. If you want just to have that dinar right now, you go to the bank whenever you are able to get out of your quarantine. You just go to the bank and you give the money to them and they will give you a certain amount of dinars. So you can go to one bank or you can go to another private bank and they will compete actually to get your Canadian dollars because they can resell it at a higher price later. So again, it's a competition. So, but there's an average, so it will not fluctuate a lot. So how much would you receive right now for each Canadian dollar in terms of dinars? 20 cents, 10 cents, I don't know.
Sorry, what was the question again?
If you have 1 Canadian dollar, how much does it represent in dinar?
I'm not sure. I think it's like 1.9-ish.
Okay. I see. Okay, so you will receive 1.90 dinars for each Canadian dollar.
Yeah, it's
more or less.
2.04.
Okay, so more or less, some people may pay you 106, some people may pay you 105. So now that we're talking about the Forex market, the Forex market just happens whenever you are trading with someone. Now you want to look at a value of reference, and the value of reference, you just Google it. Right now, the technology is allowing us to find different values, and then you say, well, this benefits me, or I may just go to the bank because they are paying me the best. But maybe someone outside the room that you are, maybe you can sell it at a higher price and you will be benefited. Now you become the Forex in this case. So the Forex is not just a place, but it's just the way that people trade between themselves. And there's a big trading between private banks usually. That's our reference number. We look at 2 or 3 banks and that's where we want to look at. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Good. So hopefully this is useful because now we understand a little bit more about how the value of one currency gains or loses value. Now we understand also that just the paper doesn't have any value per se. All the money that I show you in the classroom, it doesn't have any value. It's just paper that is just standing there, unless someone wants to have it because they want to use it for some purposes, or unless eventually the capitalism collapses and that would be just something, you know, in the future to be sold as an antique or something like that. Otherwise, paper is just paper. People give value to the paper if they need it, okay? So that is what gives value to the exchange rate. You want to have more of that because you want to invest in a country, then you actually make the value to that currency to go up. You want to get rid of a currency, the value of the currency goes down, if that happens overall in the world. That will be the summary of all of this idea of exchange rates. And I hope that is not too overwhelming, as I was saying in the video. And yeah, I'm gonna start fading out now the session because of the time. Some of you are really, really late at night. So unless there's any other burning question, I will leave it here. And please contact me via email if you have any further questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see you all, guys, and I hope you take care. Yeah. Wash your hands and use cream afterwards because then otherwise it starts to hurt. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. I'm gonna end the session now, okay?
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Good to see you.
Bye.